Okay, so a lot of gamers have kids. I know I have kids, and I know that there has been a lot of controversy on letting your children play video games or even encouraging it. There has been a lot of research coming out lately stating that video games can actually be good for your kids. And for like dads with daughters, there's some research coming out saying that if a dad plays video games with his daughter, they are more likely to be a well-rounded social woman. They're more likely to be able to stand up to boys without fear. And they're also just, more likely to have a better relationship with their father. I'm a psychology major, so what the APA, which is the American Psychology Association, has to say about video games and the effect on kids really interests me. And they've actually got a list of some of the positive effects of video games. And one of these positive effects, is children learn to follow instructions when they play video games. And a lot of parents argue that video games make your children not listen because they don't want to stop. And while that is true for some kids, because you got to think, video games have quests, they have certain things, certain ways you have to do stuff, and you got to do it that way to get it done. So in that way, it does help a child learn to follow instructions. Another one of the positive was pattern recognition, because when you fail a level and you have to keep replaying it and keep replaying it and keep replaying it, you learn a pattern. And then, like I said, games also have, internal logic, and you have to figure that out by recognizing the pattern as well. And then one of the other ones that really interested me, hang on, let me find it. It was just here. Hang on, where'd it go? Is developing the reading and math skills. A lot of people will argue, parents or not, will argue that video games take away from a child's education. So when a child plays video games, you have to learn to read the instructions and follow storylines. You have to get information. So in doing that, they have to read. So I get where they're getting developing the reading skills. And then the math skills comes in when you have resources and like adventure games. You have to have the quantitative analysis that a child can do to figure out what they've got, how they can do it. So that's one of the things that really interested me, because it's a direct opposition to these people saying that video games interfere with the child's education.
Okay, here's a little bit of caveat. I have two daughters. One's 8, one's 6. Now, one of them is very intelligent from the start. I did a lot with her, just like I did with the other one. But my oldest definitely has my higher IQ. The other one is very smart, but she was having just a little bit of trouble reading. She started playing more games where she actually had to read, and very quickly she learned how to read and recognize those words. 2, when it comes to parents saying that their kids don't want to get off the games, that's why you become a parent and tell them to stop. I don't have to raise my voice. I don't have to do anything. It's called good parenting. I tell them, all right, you played enough games for today. It's time to go do something else. Or you can't play games till your homework's done. Go do it. Okay, Dad. Boom. Plain and simple. Some parents are either too soft or way too hard with their kids, and they do not know how to discipline them in the right manner and how to be a parent. A lot of people nowadays either want their video games to babysit their kids, or their kids don't listen because they don't parent them right either. Like I said, too harsh or too soft, too lenient. I don't have to yell, I don't have to raise my voice, but with a firm grasp, I tell them, no, it is time to quit, and they're right off of it. 2, it does help with, 1, patterns, because 1, everybody knows since the beginning of video games, it's always been about patterns. Yes, we moved on away from that to a degree in modern times, but there's still those patterns in them. And then on top of that, when it comes to recognizing, and a lot of games like just Zelda, which a lot of kids end up playing. Zelda has a lot of type quests that have a little bit of problem solving in them. It teaches them problem solving at a very young age and how to overcome shit. I don't know how many adults had problems with that water stage in the N64 Ocarina of Time, but how many kids were able to do it? So right there, it proves a point. And then on to what you didn't bring up is, oh, violent video games promote violence. It's okay in movies and TV to shoot up 1,000 people, but in a video game, no, it's bad. Wrong. Actually, video games, just like any other entertainment, is escapism. That's where you vent your frustrations and this and that and stress, so that you don't act out upon those. So actually, that's debunked right there. And yes, it does bring families closer together. Me and my kids play games all the time. We'll play Super Smash, Mario Maker. They play the original Marios with me. Come on, Daddy, can you get up to here? How do I do this part? Oh, you just got to do this. Oh, but it can't work. Just keep trying, hon. You got this. Boom, I did it. And they have a sense of achievement, a sense of that they've actually done something, and then you're a part of that. So yes, it does add into that. In a time frame where board games might take too long, busy work schedules for families, and this and that, pop in a video game for 15, 20 minutes, and you can do more with that sometimes than you can with a board game or sitting down to talk at dinner. And who even does that anymore, really? Usually you sit down around the TV for a couple minutes before everybody has to go to bed now. So any argument against that is just people trying to come up with a reason why to ban games or be against games in the
I completely agree with that. That's part of the reason I wanted to bring that up. And in your regards to the violence, that was one of the negative things I was going to point out, is that the APA did find a correlation between violent video games and aggression. But a lot of people are trying to say that violent video games result in criminals. There has been no direct correlation found at all. Now, I have 2 girls as well. They're 4 and 2. So, I mean, obviously, I can't play any video games with them yet. But how many times have you been streaming and I've told you, hey, you know, the youngest is sitting here watching you, or even when Carmageddon's streaming, you know, the youngest is sitting there watching. My children love to watch video games. They think they're great.
Yeah, actually, at the time I discovered Let's Plays, my kids did too, so I'm watching the more adult stuff, and they're watching like that family fun gaming or whatever it's called stuff. And on the violence thing that you just brought up, well, yes, it's aggression, because people who have a tough time, like myself growing up, or in violent situations, or living around that and are stressed, aggressive, mad at the world, will tend to play games where they can get that out. It's catharsis. It's getting that emotion out. I grew up watching Predator, RoboCop, movies that we look back fondly as thinking of kids' movies. Oh, they had toys of that. And RoboCop, a dude gets his arm blown off and half of his head right in front of us, while in another scene, not even, 30 minutes later, he's snorting coke off the breasts of women. I didn't grow up a cokehead or blowing up cops, now did I?
Right, and I agree. Like you said, we grew up watching those, and I mean, we're perfectly fine. And I think you're completely right that it's just people who are just generally against video games. You know, they're trying to just, for some reason, annihilate the rest of our fun. But,
and I find it very fun going back and playing, showing them the games that I loved, and discovering new games with them. Like, oh, we love Mario Maker. You know, that's one. Come here, let me show you this. Oh, that's awesome. And oh, this new Zelda game's really fun. It's like, yeah, well, you remember when you played this not even 3 years ago? Oh, that's from the same game? Yeah, look how far it's progressed. And having these things, it's like going to see it, like, I can't antiquate it to Star Wars, and I'm going to try to in a way, and I'm not trying to bring it down anyway. But remember, as kids, like my mom and my stepdad at the time, like, watch this is amazing. And I saw Star Wars 1 and 2, the originals, which are now 4 and 5, and then the new one was coming out. I was like, oh my god. They showed that to me. They brought that to me, the thing that they loved. And now I'm doing that with my kids in a setting where you can do it repeatedly, but it's also participating in it together as a family. Not just sitting there and watching it.
Exactly. And there are a couple other things that really interest me about the positives, like increasing self-confidence and self-esteem because they're mastering the games. They're figuring it out, you know, and they're able to progress from like easy, medium, hard to, you know, like the most impossible levels. And another one that I thought was pretty obvious even growing up was creativity with things like Minecraft, you know, other games where you can create. You have to be creative, or you have to learn to be creative to play those games.
Like this entire week, both of my kids have been playing Minecraft like crazy. They played on their tablets, but one of their tablets broke, so they couldn't play it together anymore. I let them jump on my Xbox, and both of them are living out their dreams of what they're going to be when they grow up. My daughter built an entire doctor's office, while my other daughter built herself a restaurant right next door to it. And they're living out what they want to be when they grow up, and realizing that in some degree of their fantasy of who they're going to be. And it helps them grow as a person and, like you were saying, grow their imagination and feel their creativity, but also positive self-image of themselves through the game.
Exactly. And I mean, I cannot wait until my girls are old enough to be able to do what your girls do and get on and play, because I'm actually planning on, as soon as I can, getting my daughters Disney Infinity and Skylanders, because, you know, I want them to be able to understand what mommy and daddy do. I mean, because my husband's a gamer just like I am. So, you know, a lot of the times the girls do, we are playing video games. So, I mean, my children have grown up with it just like your girls have. And
yeah,
like you said, I'm sorry.
I started them off like I did as a child at 2-3 years old, playing the regular Nintendo, or NES as we call it nowadays, but that's what me and my friends called it as kids. I started them off on the original Mario, the original Zelda. And to be honest, they're more equipped to play these video games than most kids nowadays, and around their age and even a little bit older, because they play these harder games, but they were more simplistic, so it was an easy step of getting them into games.
Exactly. When my 4-year-old was 2, we had a PS3, and this is probably going to give me some backlash, but I don't even care. We let her just run around on Assassin's Creed doing whatever she wanted, and she actually learned pretty quickly how to hunt animals. So, I mean, just watching her learn, not even just her, just watching any child learn because of a video game is amazing, in my opinion.